Hey guys, Darcy here, and today we're going to talk about my mix template in Luna. Let's jump into it. Alright guys, so we're in Luna and I've already pulled up my mixing template for this demonstration. What you'll notice is the very first thing is that I'm inside the timeline or the track view for editing of the project. The reason why I always start here with my template, this is the last place that I make sure I go to when I save any updates so that this is the first thing I see, is because I'm always going to be dragging files in as the first step when I go to mix for a client. And so this way I can, grab them in Finder, drag them in, and then, use the track view over here to reorganize them. The other thing is that I also keep this on a grid of bar. The reason being, I find that very easy to grab everything and drag it to the beginning. If it's some smaller measurement, I might drag everything and not know that I'm not at the very beginning. So we have a submix track. Okay, this is the one I put in pink and I put it in a bright color so I never miss it. This is what everything is summing to. If you look here in my submix, I sum into the API summing and then I go into the master tape. And then from here, in terms of my inserts, I'm using the SSL G-Bus recently, but I'm always changing this up. And one of the Pultec EQs just to give a little bit to the high and to the low of the track. So I'm always kind of giving a little bit of extra push there right out of the gate, and I want to hear that right out of the gate. I'll bring the G-Bus in later. You see it's disabled because I want to hear everything is balancing and then decide, do I want that bus compression or do I not want that bus compression? If we go back to Submix, we're going to hit spill, and from here we're going to get all of our main tracks, okay? So we'll go back to the mixer view so we can see all of these main tracks. So what we have here is an all bus, all drums, all melody, all vocals, and all effects that are going into it. These buses, some of these are really the main bus, and some of these are a bus summing other buses, okay? So all effects, let's take a look at that one. We'll hit spill on this. You'll notice that there's both verbs and delays. So all of my different reverbs go into a bus and all of my delays go into a bus. So if I were to click spill on my reverbs, you'll see I have a plate, a chamber, and a room preset up, ready to go, so I can send to them while mixing really quickly. But you'll see I send them all to a verb, and that way if I have to do some EQ across all of them, something's peaking in a weird way, I can easily do that to all of them. I could ride all of my reverbs together. So let's say all the reverbs sound really good, but I need them to go all up all at once at a certain point of the song. I can make that ride from the reverb bus instead of having to, automate all three of them. And again, if I were to go back, you'll see that I have two delays, a delay quarter. Oh, it's a little off the screen for you. Let me just spill the delays. So I have a quarter and an eighth that are going into my delays. And again, the delays are going to be going into this all effects so that I can also ride all of my effects or EQ all of my effects all at once. I don't tend to use this a lot, but I do have a summing that they go into. Also have an ATR tape. I don't use that often, but sometimes you need to put a bit of saturation on it. I'd have a Pro Q ready to go so I can make some quick EQ moves as needed. It's just there. It's disabled, so it's not using any processing until I decide that I need it. Now let's go down to vocals, okay? So vocals has two tracks going into it. I have a Vox channel and then a PVox. So my Vox channel is basically the sum for my vocals, and it's what's going to add most of the color. Then I have the PVox, or my parallel compression of my Vox, that is also I'm sending to, and I'll make decisions on individual channels as to how much I'm going to send to this parallel track. And then I have both of these going to an API, to an all vocals. I have summing on this one, and I have my console at the ready, but I don't always use them. They're just there in case I decide I want them. And I also have some EQ and some Pro Q3 going on here. And actually, one thing I've been meaning to add to this on the ready is also have a Soothe 2 ready to go as well, because I tend to use this a lot on that channel. But the purpose of the All Vox is to tame and to add additional color. So what I'm doing with the Vox is I'm basically rounding out the sound to what I want. I'm thickening it with the parallel compression, sending them to a channel together, and then able to make any moves that need to happen. Maybe the parallel compression's adding some harshness. Okay, we need to tame that with soothe. Maybe everything sounds good, but needs a little touch of brightness, and I add some EQ with like a Pulsec. It just has some options here in terms of how I'm going to approach this. When we back out of this, we also see that with inside the Vox, we have a couple of other channels ready to go. This is my wide and my ad-libs. Wide is basically just something that spreads a mono signal wide. So if I have a mono track, I can send it to this one and it'll just make it a wider track. And I'm just using a basic precision delay, and I'm just timing my left and right a little bit differently. And then I also have an ad-libs, which is preset up because I'm going to do some kind of ad-libs in the track. And so I'm going to send every ad-lib to that, and then I can process it in a stereo signal. I tend to get those in mono as well. Then if we back up, we have an all melody and my all bass are fairly simple. They just are a track that, or a bus that has some form of compression on it, or the ATR, and I kind of decide as I'm going what I want to do. I don't know what I'm going to get exactly, so I'm going to make that decision on the fly. I don't tend to feel like I need a lot of parallel compression with these tracks, but if I do, I'll create one on the fly. When we look at the drums, we have 3 buses. The same idea as the vocals here. We have a drums bus, a parallel compression bus, and all drums bus. And again, we can make decisions in terms of thickening and rounding out the drums, but then we can also bring the parallel and the main one together with additional compression, or make some decisions if we have to, tame something or fix something. One thing to note, and I've done this in another video, I actually double sum with the drums. I tend to get a really nice sound that I like when I do a low impedance on both my bass and my drums, but I do a low impedance on the drum bus and the all drums bus, and I just like the extra oomph, the extra punch that I get from the 2 of these. I tame them back with the trim, but I just tend to feel like it gives it a harder kick to it. And the other thing to mention here, if I were to bring up a track, just bring up like a mono track, for example here. So I also have some tape set up. So I have the oxide tape, which I use a lot for drums, and then I have 2 different Studers set up. One of them is on a preset that I've customized for vocals, and another one's on a preset. I think it's called the hip hop preset in here. I just tend to like how it gives it some shine and some low end, but I've kind of taken that one and customized it and called it starter. These are also some things that I'm going to add to my tracks, but I don't preset up my tracks because I find that you are going to drag them in, and then you have to drag the kick to the kick, the snare to the snare, and I just like to drag them all at once, and then I'll just set things up as I go. So I don't really want to have them all preset up and then have to manually drag them and delete them. It feels like extra work. And overall, I feel like that's really the majority of the setup. A lot of it is just setting yourself up for speed and time saving later. A lot of that happens with having the effects preset up, but also having some stuff set up in terms of how things are routed to save you time in terms of how you use the submix or how you have parallel compression set up. Just, speeding things up. And as you see here, integrating summing and tapes with inside the process. So that's ready to go. Additionally, you can see that we have a lot of meters visually on the screen right now. And so when I set things up and I'm gain staging, I'm using all of these meters as I go. Anyways, I hope you found this helpful. I hope I didn't ramble too much about all the little individual pieces, but sometimes it's beneficial to see other people's mixing processes, and that helps you along the way. I've seen a couple of things in here that I'm going to clean up and get this better for myself. But if you found this helpful, please let me know that. If you have questions for your mixtape, your mixing template, let me know that as well. And if you're interested in getting a hold of my mixing template, well, let me know that in the comments as well, and maybe I'll put this up on my store. But anyways, peace y'all, and have yourself a good day.